everyone. Welcome to the latest episode of the Dollar Bin Bandits, the only comic book podcast where old friends discuss old comics and the people that created them. I'm Joe Marcello, joined as always by my partners in crime, Orrin Phillips.
Good afternoon.
And Mike Farah.
Hello.
So today, this episode is a Bandit Bits episode. So hunker down, strap in, because we're going to be talking some stuff. All right. First and foremost, we're going to be discussing the anniversary of XForce #1.
Big 3-0. Can you believe it? We are really old.
Yeah, we are. We are old.
I mean,
Look, we have gray.
It's hard to believe this book is 30 years old. Like, it doesn't seem that way. Like, I remember us running out to get it pretty clearly, but
multiple copies. Can you give us a close up of that, Warren?
Sure.
Look at that.
XForce #1 still in the bag. I'll be honest with you, when I see them out there, I still do pick them up.
They come polybagged, or they came polybagged.
They
right?
come polybagged, yep. And they come with different cards on the back. This one I can't tell because something's blocking it. But this one, which I at one point marked $6, has a cable card on the back.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So
not a cable card to get a discount on your channels.
Right.
Yeah, right.
That will not work so well unless it's a comic book fan running the place.
Possibly. Yeah, for those independent cable outfits running around out there. So yeah, that's let's see. Polybagged.
Right.
Not one, but two red bursts on the cover because you can't contain all of the excitement of the polybagged carded comic. I think it was certainly the #1 seller for that month. Maybe at that point, the #1 seller of all time. I don't remember when X-Men #1 came out. Was that after this?
I think it was before this.
Okay.
Yeah.
So maybe it didn't obliterate those records, but you can certainly get more than one copy, as Orrin has. I think I have like 5 or 6 trying to get, I guess, all of the cards that were polybagged with them. But
sadly, I own none of that.
I'll give you a few.
What year did that come out?
You could really
30 years ago.
Oh yeah. So
91.
yeah, I just started collecting maybe the next year or something like that, but I wasn't down with all that stuff.
You were all in DC.
I had no money. Yeah, I was all DC. But everything about what you guys said and what I see just screams 90s.
Oh yeah.
You know, polybagged cards, multiple covers, everything about that just says 90s comics, as well as the Liefeld, whatever the hell art that's on the cover.
And this is also a $1.50 price point. So that was a good 50 cents more than we were paying for, most books. But yeah, when you went to a comic shop, like, you were kind of frowned upon if you just bought one, because there was one that, well, maybe I'll take one out of the bag, but then I had to buy 2 that are still in the bag, and then, well, I should probably get another one, and you wind up getting mounds and mounds of copies of this. I can't even honestly tell you really what the story was in this issue.
Well, you clearly didn't open that one, so
no. This is my kid's retirement fund, all right?
Right.
Yeah,
so is the boxes of Superman, Death of Superman that we have.
Yeah, this was the height of the speculator market, right? Everybody was just buying. If you were a true comic book fan, you were buying one to read. Right. But most people were just buying them, keeping, throwing them in the basement and being like, all right, let's let this grow. And then my kids can go to college, but didn't quite turn out that way. So X-Force was born of New Mutants, which ended consciously, I think, at 100. Mm-hmm. Although the most well-known issue is 98, which introduced Deadpool.
Right. Who's this character you speak of?
So
Deadpool. Okay.
Yeah, it's
he might be a thing.
Like, he has no mouth and lots of cuts, and Wolverine fought him in the first Wolverine movie. Mm-hmm. Never heard from him again.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. No, well,
Flash in the pan.
I hope he gets a chance again.
Yeah. I don't think
Um,
they brought him back though immediately. I don't think he's in X-Force #1, or is he?
Oh,
Does anybody
He's in number
remember?
2.
Okay.
Yeah.
They saved him.
You saved the best for
The
second.
good old numero dos.
You don't want to overwhelm your readers too much.
Right.
So, but it is funny because I forget who we spoke to. I think it was Bob McLeod, but where New Mutants started as a team of younger mutants, trying to get their foothold and things like that, and how it just totally evolved into this larger than life with Cable and Deadpool and all, these things. It was a book that did a complete 180, like I've never seen before.
Yeah. I'd have to look it up, and we should be able to do this with our amazing internet skills. But it started up with a lineup that I think none of them from New Mutants #1 made it to New Mutants 100. It was an entirely different lineup by the time they got to 100, and then X-Force is reflective of that lineup at the end of New Mutants. Let's go down the character lineup. Are they all on the cover?
They also wrap around back, but it's probably better if we just looked it up online, because I know there's Cable, of course, Feral. I don't remember this girl in pink.
So hold on a sec. Yeah. So Cable, we all know Cable, right?
Right.
Big dude played by Josh Brolin in the movies from the future, trying to protect the future.
Mm-hmm.
Feral,
I got it.
Feral was just kind of a ripoff of Wolfsbane, right?
I thought she was, to be honest with you.
Oh, you thought she was? Yeah.
I thought she was.
People got
Wolfsbane.
confused with that, and it was just like, I think it was Rob just being like, well, we need a Wolfsbane like character, because Wolfsbane was part of New Mutants, wasn't it?
I believe so.
There goes my phone. Sorry. Sharing my screen.
Oh,
okay, there we go. So yeah, lots of padding on Cable.
You had Warpath.
Feral was a ripoff. Yeah, Warpath was the son of Thunderbird,
So unprofessional.
I think so.
or some sort of family of Thunderbird. So kind of a strong guy, a la Colossus, I'd say.
Right.
Yeah.
The blonde in the pink outfit was Boom Boom or Boomer, or
Boom, boom.
however you want to refer to her.
Boom, boom. Yep.
Yeah. So she had the ability to throw time bombs, which seems like kind of a lesser ability than throwing non-time bombs. She would always have to like count down and be like 3, 2, 1. I'm like, can you just throw a bomb and not count down? Hey Joe, get back to the top.
Sorry, I was trying to see if there was any kind of.
Stop scrolling on our broadcast.
Sorry.
Yes.
Shatterstar.
Shatterstar. That's the one I was trying to think of.
Yeah. By far the, I think, coolest looking character.
Yeah.
But I don't think brought much to the table. I mean he was an amazing fighter, I think, also from the future.
I'm sure.
Am I right?
Well, from the movie, he was from the planet Mojo World.
Right, which I
And
think
he
was an
was-
update.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah, I don't know much about him.
Longshot was from Mojo World too.
Yeah. Oh yeah, maybe they're like, okay. Yeah, maybe they're related in some way.
And let's not forget.
He has that double sword, and then up there in the upper left corner, the one, the only Cannonball.
Cannonball. And Domino,
Oh, you know
did
what?
we say Domino too?
Oh, where's Domino? Oh, there she is. She's kind of like hidden.
Yeah.
So Cannonball might have been the one that made it from New Mutants. I think he was in the first issue. We should look that up. And then Domino, yeah, Domino's just like a badass, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, lots of this is typical Liefeld, Liefeld art. We should probably ask him one day. It's probably online how you pronounce his name. No feet.
No.
Very consciously avoids
Yes.
drawing feet because he's bad at drawing feet.
Yeah.
Which seems like a good thing to avoid.
Feet and hands are two things that people have a hard time drawing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I can say nothing of it because I do not draw.
I don't draw either. Just that's what I hear from my wife and people that we've spoken to.
Yeah. Cannonball was in the original New Mutants #1. So he is the survivor.
What is the? Can you read the lineup for
New Mutants #1?
Yeah.
Let's see. New Mutants. You guys talk while I look this up.
Oh, folks. Well,
does this ring any bells?
Well, I mean, I know of all of these characters, and I know of XForce, and obviously I'm familiar with it, but never read the actual issue in question. But any comic book character that's well ensconced in all this stuff, more or less any of these characters at any given point. Because of, it's the world. Everything's connected in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Cable's come back a bazillion times.
The New Mutant lineup was Cannonball, Karma, Mirage, Sunspot, Wolfsbane.
Okay. So
that was different than the
Sunspot,
cover.
I know eventually came back to X-Force.
Right.
Wolfsbane went over to X Factor when Peter David was writing it.
Mm-hmm.
Cannonball obviously is an X-Force. Did Karma die? I don't remember Karma at all.
You know what they say about Karma, right?
Oh,
just comes back around again.
There we go. That's it.
Yeah.
Yep. Not anything else.
But X-Force was among. There were 3 teams at that point. There were the X-Men, which actually there were 2 different X-Men teams. There was Blue and Gold.
Yeah.
There was X Factor,
and
then there was X-Force.
Right.
And I don't know if they were really well delineated as to like their missions of what they did. I think they had interchangeable villains, kind of just like X Factor was at one point the original X-Men, and then came the Peter David stuff and Multiple Man and
is this
Strong Guy.
Yeah.
Is this in addition to New Mutants as well?
Well, it was New Mutants that became X-Force.
Okay.
And so they didn't really have a young team anymore. I guess X-Force was the youngest team, but they were still, I don't know. But
was Excalibur gone by then?
No, they may have been around too. I mean,
Oh.
I guess they had a reason to distinguish themselves in that they were British.
Right.
That was about that was about it.
Of Britain, or else he'd lose his powers.
Right. Exactly.
No.
Was that a real thing?
He was
my
God. The protector of the British Isles.
It's not very useful for a global super.
You can't get me. I'm over here.
I'll say one thing about X-Force, though, is that, because you guys still collect newer comics today, but I don't think since this time period, there's been such a buzz about a physical book, about having a book as there was with something like this. I mean, this was an event when this came out that, it was covered in, I think in the regular mainstream media too, as opposed to Wizard and stuff like that. You ran out to get this because this was like, oh my gosh, a new X title with, Rob Liefeld and all this stuff. I mean, I can't remember since that period about such a buzz to physically have a book because of, its potential.
Yeah, I don't hear about people, hey, make sure you get to the comic book store because of, this happening. This artist is going to be on the cover or something like that. Yeah, I don't hear that. I mean, they do still make alternate covers because you could find them online. But I don't there's no more events. There's no more no need to run to the comic book store for any particular one issue, other than just buying it to read it, but not because of anything going on. I mean, the last time I went to the store to buy a comic was because during, I want to say it was like it was either because of the Green Lantern Blackest Night or one of the series tied into it. You got the various colored rings, like those behind me. you got the separate rings, and you could collect them all. If you got the issue, they got a ring. And that was, that was all. I mean, I don't remember anything else.
So you're going for the ring.
Right. Well, you know how many of those rings I got, other than which is funny because you got the rings separately, and then like a year later they put out this set of all the rings.
Of course.
Yeah. And then they all
it's
light
like
up.
buying the seasons of a TV show on DVD back in the day. And then you're like, you get to the end and you're like, oh, this is an amazing package, but I have these for it.
Right, exactly.
You should recreate though the Green Lantern, what is it, 49 or 48 cover?
It's in the works.
Oh,
just know it's in the works.
There's your tease, folks.
Yep. It's in the works.
Coming soon. This was the era also that, if you can remember, that number ones were not that common. It wasn't like every other week they reset a series and just to get a bump in sales for number ones. So what you guys were saying about it being a number one, a new X comic number one was a big deal back then.
I think also the age of the rock star artist, because it's come back to earth a lot, but anything Todd McFarlane or Lee Field or Jim Lee or Portasio, Stephen Platt, there's a whole cadre of artists that as soon as they put on a book or you heard like, oh, I heard they were in this book at one point, you ran to go get it. And I don't think that's the case anymore. So people wouldn't understand that, oh, just because some guy drew a book, you would run out and get 10 copies. Like, well, yeah,
I don't. Brian Michael Bendis had he finished up his run with DC, and that was a big deal when he got signed. Of course, that was for his writing, which in my opinion fell very flat for everything that they were hyping it up about. I mean, I thought, and I think Larson alluded to this when we interviewed him, but he didn't call him out by name. But Brian Michael Bendis had a ridiculous contract with DC, lots of money, and he didn't exactly break new ground. He introduced a couple of new characters and a couple of new storylines, which were cool, but nothing that I don't think really had any legs to go on for years.
Right.
But that was probably the closest in the modern era to what we were talking about with these creators, right?
Yeah. I
mean, like there are superstar
right
switching sides.
Right. I mean, there are great artists out there. I mean, I think that's the thing. Now everything is so global. You didn't, it was a much smaller world in that sense. Now it's global. Anyone from any part of the world can be an artist for DC, Marvel, Image. So there's more accessibility. Therefore, there's far less cachet for someone like Lee Field or someone of that type.
Right. So this was actually sort of the opening salvo in the Image versus the World War, right? I mean, this is basically, wasn't the start of Image, but I mean, I think the needle was dropped on what would initially become Image Comics, because you had McFarlane's Spider-Man #1 and those issues, Jim Lee's X-Men #1. Larson was on, what was Larson on? He was on Amazing Spider-Man.
Yep.
And Portasio was on X-Men, one of the X-Men's, maybe Uncanny. Silvestri was on another X-Men.
Was he? On Guardians?
What's that?
Was he on Guardians at the time, or
who? Jim Valentino was on Guardians, I think. Okay. Yeah. And so you can see them, and in fact, they were starting to cross-pollinate too, right? Do you remember that issue? I think it was of X-Force, with X-Force and Spider-Man. Maybe it was of Spider-Man, that X-Force, but it was a sideways issue.
Yep.
Yeah. And that was, I'm drawing a blank whether it was Liefeld or McFarlane, but
I think it was Liefeld, yeah. Or they might have been together, because I know they had worked a couple titles for New Mutants where Liefeld would draw, McFarlane would ink. They did that for a few issues as well. A couple X Factor issues too. So they were all kind of working together a little bit.
And then within probably a year. We'd have to look this up again. We should be more prepared, but I don't know if Liefeld made it 12 issues. I don't know if McFarlane made it 12 issues. Jim Lee might have eked out 12 issues, but I think they were all off to Image within probably a year of those big, landmark series coming out.
Right. And I mean, rightfully so, when you hear McFarlane say, they're getting these t-shirts with his Spider-Man are selling all over the place and posters and stuff. And he's saying, well, I drew all this. Can I get, something for it? And they're like, well, no, it's not your character. You just drew it. So,
right.
It's, they were making a lot of money off these guys and they were getting, financially what they probably should have been getting for the work they were doing.
Yeah. I mean, that makes sense. And that became a big sort of dust up in the industry, which I think is probably still playing out. And I forgot which creator we've talked to that said, we asked about creating characters within the big two. And they said, nowadays, why would you, I think it was Eric Larson, why would you ever do that? You have outlets where you can create your own characters and then own the rights and do with them what you will. So why create it for one of the big two companies? And then that again makes the big two more and more flat, right? Like they're just recycling stories because nobody wants to create new stuff for them because they're not going to own it.
Right.
So it's like this vicious cycle. I think that's a bummer of a note. Done, so
well, it's like the guy who created Winter Soldier, Ed Brubaker.
Yeah.
And he was basically, Marvel has made just tons of dough off of the Winter Soldier movies and series and whatnot. And he hasn't watched Falcon and Winter Soldier just because of the bad taste left in his mouth from being shortchanged from Marvel.
Yeah.
Yeah. Would he ever do that again? No.
No, I don't think
anyone would.
Right. And that's why you're sort of stuck unless, they come to some sort of revenue sharing agreement, which honestly they should.
They should
with some of these creators. Then they're going to get an injection of new creativity because they're sharing the benefits, right?
It's only going to help them in the long run.
I agree. It's only going to help them in the long run. And, just like you can look at it from a macro perspective and what's happening with Sony and Marvel in terms of co-owning or co-developing the Spider-Man movies, right? It's mutually beneficial. I mean, Marvel's not getting everything, and Sony's not getting everything, but they're getting more than they would if they had not teamed up.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, besides, how much money do you possibly need? They are no joke, just, one step away from printing their own money, with Stanley's face on it. I mean, they have kicked everyone's ass in terms of entertainment, I mean, and Hollywood is bitter about it, but it's the same, people want to see it. So, I mean, just give the artists their due.
I think this is also the shows the height of the speculator market, because when you put first issue collector's item on the front, you're pretty much telling everyone you're printing a lot of these, because if it's a collector's edition first issue and it was going to be rare, you wouldn't say it, so that way it's only a small amount. So these were printed and reprinted, and they're found in dollar bins now, and
a little bit on the nose with that.
Right.
Well, and that's why we're here.
Declaring it a collector's item.
Right. And it's like, official Marvel trading, superhero trading cards enclosed, available only with this collector's edition. So
yeah, you gotta like that marketing, right? free card. Well, how do I get my free card? Oh, you have to buy this.
Oh yeah.
Oh, so free? No,
it's
not so free. Maybe that was the 50 cents extra.
Yeah.
Went for the bag and the card.
Well, no, you know what it is? They shortchange you one extra page so they can offset the cost of the card.
That's true.
So,
But the funny thing is, back then, this comic would have sold itself to have an X.
Oh, right. Like without anything.
Yeah. You could just put this out plain and you didn't need all this. And people would have been like, oh, yeah, I got to get this.
Yeah.
But, I think this is kind of what turned some folks off to collecting back then as well.
I don't remember if you said, Warren, but was that like a foil, or was there a foil version of that
No,
issue as well? Okay.
I think if you get the second printing, I don't believe it came in this bag, but I think it's a gold background.
Okay.
And just to differentiate, but now those second printings and third printings are going up in value because there weren't as many printed for them. So
I guess that makes sense. Yeah, I do remember for some reason gold was the like second printing kind of thing.
Right.
They use silver on a lot of things for the first printing and then gold for the second printing.
like
That is
the
a weird thing.
that Ghost Rider glow in the dark cover, which was black. With
Yeah,
the
yeah,
it was
with the-
gold with sort of a black thing on it.
Oh, right.
Oh, I guess it still glows in the dark. I don't know.
Weird times.
But somehow we made it through 30 years later.
Yeah, exactly. So
Just wait for
Great.
our gimmick coverage episode.
yeah, we got to prepare for that and get as many gimmick. In fact, let's throw this out to the fans, guys. Can you put your favorite gimmick covers on our? Well, you could throw it to our Facebook page, Twitter, Instagram, wherever you want to throw them to us or tag us. DB Bandits on Twitter or at Dollar Bin Bandits for Facebook and Instagram. We'd love to see what you have cooking because we are going to be doing a gimmick cover episode, and we'll look for ours and try to cover as many of yours as possible. So
There are some ridiculous ones out there.
Yes.
a lot of ridiculous ones.
A lot of them.
I think a majority are ridiculous.
They're all pretty stupid.
Shut up.
Sorry.
You wouldn't put a silver cover on for something if it wasn't good.
Right. What's funny is when they put the like silver or any kind of like metallic on something that didn't have any metal whatsoever. It's just like, just make it all metal.
Yeah.
Okay.
You leave them alone. They tried.
Like Turok, right?
Mhm.
Turok takes place in
It
doesn't take place in the future. He has like no well, I guess sort of.
It's a futurist past. But
It's kind of like He-Man, it's like barbarian times, but they have
okay.
flying
All right.
vehicles.
You
or
convinced
something.
me. It was worth having a chrome color cover for Turok. Then.
that one made sense. All right. Well, thank you.
All right, guys. I think we
I think we beat a dead
ran
horse.
out this
I mean,
XForce number
sorry.
1. Yeah. We polybagged it and put a card in it.
Yep.